Hey everybody, I just wanted to take about a half an hour and quickly go through some notes from the webinar that we did the other night called Essential Oils for Sleep and Mood. There's some really important information in that, and we got together the other night to discuss it, and guess what? Our recording didn't work. So I'm going to go ahead and record this and share my screen so you can see all of the slides that we have with all of the important new data and everything. And starting with a picture from convention. So you can see this. Let's take in just a second. There we go. Got it? So at convention, another fun thing that they did was have these little photo booths set up. So I hopped in. This is the Serenity. They were featuring the new Serenity sleep products, and snapped a little photo. So they had all these cute props and stuff. So if we haven't met yet in person, my name is Kate, and I have been using essential oils for about 6 years and teaching others for about 3, a little over 3. Long ago, I started a blog called Essential Oils Daily, and we built this little team called the Essential Oils Daily Team. And that is where you can find us on Instagram and Facebook as well. So if you're not yet connected there, let's connect. We are a competent, caring little tribe of oil users, and a lot of moms, a lot of people my age, who have young children. So that's typically how our conversation goes, but everyone is welcome there. And we have knowledge for just about every area of life and how we could integrate oils. So connect with one of us. And tonight we're talking specifically about oils for sleep and mood. Those are intertwined. If you don't know, like if you haven't woken somebody up and they've been really grouchy, sleep and mood are very intertwined. So we're going to dig into some new research that they shared at convention, as well as pulling out some old research from a seminar I took years ago on mood management, and also sharing some of my own experiences. This is my little family, and this was about a year ago when we were in the midst of our transition that we moved from Ohio to Tennessee, and we moved away from our family and our support network. And that little princess was not sleeping through the night yet, and it was making me crazy, at least. Everybody else seemed to hang in there. But my first baby was such a great sleeper, and my husband and I were on this high horse of superior parenting. Like, oh, what's everybody talking about? It's kind of, it's just easy to have a baby. But really, we were just spoiled, and we had a baby who slept through the night when he was like 6 weeks old. So anyway, last year, about this time, we moved. So we had to pack up our whole house with 2 little kids and try to set up a new house and make new friends and get plugged in to community here. And it was tough on very little sleep because she was waking up like every few hours. There was really no reason for her to be waking up except that she just kind of wanted to hang out. So we had to do a lot of things to get in that pattern. So that's some of the research that I'm going to draw on. We came to those conclusions on our own because we were just trying whatever. But the researcher who presented at convention shared some of those tips as well. So it was stuff that we kind of like in our desperation researched. But anyways, if you don't know some of these things, I'll be able to share that with you as well. So I love sleep. I need sleep. And when I don't have sleep, I'm not a whole person. I'm just kind of spacey. And I don't know if you can relate to that. Some people are really good at functioning without sleep, but I think it really does catch up to you in one way or another. So, and just because we have tools, like I have all of the oils, I have the knowledge of how to use them, but I was so out of it that I wasn't in the habit of using them, if that makes sense. It was really kind of boneheaded, but like once we sit down and think about making a plan and getting in the habit and being, consistent, that's really important. So that's kind of my little disclaimer. Just because you have this knowledge and you have the tools, it does not mean you're going to get the desired result, because you have to open those bottles and use them. So let's back up a minute. If you don't already know what an essential oil is, it's a natural aromatic compound found in plants. So depending on what plant, it might be sourced from different parts. So what the picture we're looking at here is a little peppermint leaf, and under a microscopic view, it looks weird like this. And there are these protective little spikes on the surface of the leaf around these little bubbles. So the bubbles contain the essential oil. It's called an essential oil sac, really. And so when you have peppermint and you swish it, you break those sacs, and that's when it releases the aroma. So you can kind of smell it when you're walking by the plant, or you just have it, or you pick it up at the grocery store. But when you start to chop it or muddle it for a mojito or something fun like that, you release that oil. So depending on the plant, and the scientists have figured out the best way to get those oils, they're either steam distilled, like these leaves would be, or cold pressed, like citrus oils would be. So the oils are very powerful and potent. You only need about a drop or half a drop to get the desired result. So if you have a 15 ml bottle, it's going to last you a long time, because that contains about 250 drops. It's going to last you about 250 doses. So remember just to use them sparingly. Start with a little and add more. If you have too much, you want to dilute it with a fatty vegetable oil. I use a fractionated coconut oil that doTERRA sells, but if you don't have that handy, you could just grab any other vegetable oil, or coconut oil, or olive oil, or something like that. The cautions would be: do not put them in your eyes or your ears. Read the labels and see what the instructions are. So I'm talking about a specific brand. I use doTERRA oils. They're all we've ever used. Since oils have become so popular, a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon and trying to produce the same thing, but nobody is really doing the kind of testing that doTERRA does. We talked a little bit about that in the post-convention tour notes. So it's really important that you read the labels. If it says, like, do not ingest it. I'm talking about doTERRA oils, and so it will say the nutrition supplement facts and tell you the proper dosage amount. If it says 4 drops in, 32 ounces of water, or I think like 8 ounces of water, that doesn't mean that you put 16 drops in 32 ounces, if that makes sense. So if it says 4 drops, just use 4 drops, no matter how much water you're drinking, if it's something you're doing internally. Also, there's varied chemistry from oil to oil. So, like frankincense oil, for example, has many, many compounds, and you can get many, many results from frankincense. So that's why we say, when in doubt, use frankincense. It is good for calming. It is good for skin. It's good for neurological support. It is good for circulation support. It is good for so many different things. So we always say, when in doubt, use frankincense. And that's because there are hundreds, or I think there are like 120 compounds in frankincense. And the new spikenard oil that's being sourced has over 170 compounds in it. So that is another one that we can use for just about anything. Other oils, like grapefruit, has a very specific chemistry, and we could know what kind of result we're going to get from that, because there aren't that many active compounds in the grapefruit oil. And also quality matters. I touched on that a little bit, talking about other companies. There's no regulation of this industry. It's a $7.5 billion industry right now, because we've kind of taken oils so mainstream by talking about them all the time. And a lot of people are trying to do what we're doing and aren't doing it. So I think now would be a good time to tell this cute little story about the researcher at Johns Hopkins. Her name is Nicole Parrish, and she has her own lab at Johns Hopkins. And she studies immunology and all kinds of really interesting things. And she works on drug development. And so she has an 81-year-old mother, and every year her mother would get sick with a respiratory illness. It would escalate to pneumonia. She would end up in the hospital every winter, 1 or 2 times. So one April, Nicole realized that her mom hadn't gone in all winter. Like, she hadn't had that respiratory thing that escalated. And so she asked her what she was doing. And she said, well, I've been using essential oils to support my respiratory tract and to build my immune system. And so as a researcher, Nicole went out and she bought some oils and she took them to her lab and started to analyze them against certain pathogens. And they weren't giving the results that, she expected based on her mom's stories. So she went back to her mom and asked again about what she had done. And so she showed her the doTERRA bottles. And so Nicole was in contact with doTERRA right after that. They sent her a case that she began analyzing, testing, and had really, really great results. And I can't tell you the specifics on those because she's going to publish some of her findings in some scholarly journals that'll be coming out. So once those are published, we'll be able to forward that on to you so you could read about it too. But all that is to say that quality matters. You can't go to the grocery store and buy an oil and expect the same result because they're diluted or mislabeled. They're trying to sell cheaper oils as something else. They're stripped with chemicals, so you're getting the oil and the chemical. A lot of different ways. There's a lot of different ways that companies are adulterating oils and trying to get away with it. So here are some factors of influence when we're talking about mood and emotions. So stress, for one. What is pulling your strings? When you're in an unhealthy pattern, it's time to stop and take a look at what's really going on under the surface. So look at things that you can control and come to terms with the things you can't control, like maybe your genetic predisposition, and take the things that you can control into your own hands, like eating healthy foods and staying hydrated. When I was in that tough year with my daughter not sleeping, I would wake up tired and, drink a bunch of coffee and then, eat bad foods, just, for that carb rush or whatever. And then also I was nursing. So it was probably precipitating our problem. Like, she was probably, getting all that caffeine, which I never did with my son. And it was just, perpetuating itself because we were so tired in that, bad pattern. So when you have a pattern, you need to interrupt it and introduce new stimuli, introduce a new habit. So if you're in that cycle of stimulants and sedatives, it doesn't replace sleep. It's only kind of being a placeholder for sleep. And your body isn't doing what it needs to do during that 8 hours of your 24 hours. So like I said, there's not a lot we could do about our genetics, but we can do a lot with learning new patterns. So maybe you learned things in your home growing up that were not healthy coping skills to your emotions, or maybe you learned to suppress emotions and not talk about them and sweep them under the rug. That's not healthy either. Maybe you're, had to be a tough guy or fight things or laugh things off. But when you get older, you need to learn to deal with those things and then also pass healthy patterns onto your children. So we'll dig a little bit more into that as we move on. So also, what is your worldview or your mindset? Are you a negative person? Do you wake up thinking, oh, this is going to be a terrible day? If you're thinking that, you probably are going to have a terrible day. But if you wake up like my son and say, it's a beautiful day, well, you're probably going to have a great day and things are going to be beautiful because you have a positive mindset. So, and research shows that you can actually use gratitude to rewire your brain, those neural pathways in your brain. So we have this book in our house called Happy Hippo, Angry Duck, and it's really cute. And it's kind of fun to teach our kids a little bit of emotional intelligence on their level. It's really cute. I can recite it for you because I haven't memorized, but I won't. So here a little bit of differentiation between a mood and an emotion. So it's not good to ignore our emotions like we talked about, even negative ones. So if you're having a negative emotion, it's time to look at it and keep digging until you get an answer and kind of look at the source. Even if you're having jealousy or other kind of negative emotions, keep digging. Like, what is it about that thing that makes you jealous? Maybe it's something that you are supposed to be focusing on for yourself if you're jealous of someone. So dig into that. Don't just try to suppress it because it won't go away. It'll keep rearing its ugly head until you really deal with it. So an emotion is extrinsic. So it there's some outside influence. A mood is intrinsic. Like you just kind of wake up grumpy. So that could be a physiological thing. It lasts a little bit longer. It's a little bit less intense, and it is your thinking. It's your perception of how something is. So other people really wouldn't be affected by it unless you start to let it spill over. An emotion is a chemical response in your body. So that's how they're tied together. And it's kind of more intense. So if you know anyone who has like explosive anger, that's a big emotion. And there's usually something underlying that. So we could talk for days on that topic too, but we won't do that. But the more we engage in the process of looking at these moods and emotions and understanding them and digging into them, the healthier our response is going to be, and the better we're going to be equipped to deal with them. So we can, as we learn on our own, we can also teach our children. So, and there's different schools of thought about where it originates. So one researcher says these guys go way back, but emotions are visceral and they originate in the body, not in the mind. So our whole central nervous system is connected. Obviously your brain is connected with all the nerves in your body. And so William James was saying it starts in your body and it works its way to your brain. And then Walter Cannon is another person who would say the exact opposite. And for our purposes, we really don't need to know where they originate. We just need to know that we have powerful tools that can affect them. So this is kind of a slice of the brain. If you were looking at, in the middle of the brain, the pituitary gland is at the base of the brain in the center, and we can affect all of this just by inhaling a drop of essential oil. So if you want to powerfully affect a group and their mood, you can diffuse oils in a room. All the time people come to our house and they say, it smells so good in here, or people don't want to leave, especially kids never want to leave our house. And they don't know the research of why the oils are affecting their brain, but it's really kind of a neat thing that we can create a peaceful atmosphere. The sense of smell has a direct effect on the amygdala, and that's the part of the brain where memories and emotions are all kind of hanging out. It's fully developed. That part of the brain is fully developed by 18 months. And it's just kind of interesting when you smell an aroma. It could be good or bad. If you smell like a chemical cleaner aroma, it could remind you of being in a hospital and provoke negative emotions. Or if you smell cookies baking, it could remind you of your grandmother or something like that. So it's really powerful. If you've ever done that, you would know that those things are really closely tied. Or when you smell something and you're trying to place that memory. So people have even effectively used essential oils in that way. If you have traumatic memories that come to the surface and provoke like those anxious feelings, you can actually, when you're in a good state, when you're in a good, healthy, happy state, smell an essential oil. Like pick one that you really like Citrus Bliss or Balance or something like that. Those citrus oils are really helpful though. So Citrus Bliss or tangerine or grapefruit or something like that. We take that oil and smell it and associate it with good, positive, happy feelings. And that way, if trauma from your past comes up and the memories come to the surface and you become overwhelmed with those panicky feelings, you could smell your oil and it immediately takes you back to that happy association you have with it, which is really interesting and helpful for if you know anyone who's gone through trauma or anything like that, or deals with those overwhelming anxious feelings. And what you feel emotionally becomes how you feel physically because of the link between the physiological response and stress. For example, stress kills people. Like prolonged stress and things that you're not dealing with actually can destroy your body. So it's really important to take control of these things. Laura Jacobs is somebody who presented at the conference. She is a presidential diamond, I think, or double presidential diamond. She's been with doTERRA since the beginning. And she was talking about physical and emotional connections. And I thought this was hooey when I first heard about it. She was saying that fringe medicine like this usually takes 15 to 20 years to work its way into the mainstream. And the first studies on this stuff were published like 17 years ago. So she kind of created a call to action that it's time for this to become mainstream. And we've already effectively taken oils mainstream, so we can start taking this mainstream too and helping people take control of this aspect of their health as well. So here's kind of an interesting list about different things that are associated with different parts of our bodies. The one that I do have personal experience with is the liver, and hanging on to like resentment and judgment and anger and things like that stored in the liver, which makes sense if you think about it. Like if you can think to anybody in your life, anybody you know who's like an angry person, when they get drunk, maybe their liver becomes overwhelmed, overtaxed, and then those other things start to creep out of it. So I know it sounds crazy, but if you know anybody who needs to do like release some negative emotions, juniper berry, which is strongly antiseptic and supportive of the urinary tract and supportive of your liver function, and has those deep cleansing properties, actually helps release those emotions. And I've experienced that on a personal level. Sounds totally crazy, but you don't have to take my word for it. You could just try it for yourself and see. So, and stomach is kind of like an intuitive one. Like we all know, even if our little kids get anxious about something, you feel it first in your tummy. You know, you feel those anxious feelings in your belly. And it manifests in a lot of different ways. So, you know, some people can't eat when they're nervous or have digestive upset. So that's kind of a no-brainer. And then the shoulders, like feeling the tension in your shoulders when you have so much going on. Some of those are more intuitive than others, but take a look at those things and try. If you're having any of those things, look up in your resource book an oil that would support that body system and support that body system. And that'll also help support the emotional response as well. So here is where we can take control of it. We get to introduce new stimuli. So we get to interrupt those thought patterns. Our brain pathways, I don't know how much you've read about neuroplasticity or anything like that, but there's little channels in our brains. And think of it like a riverbed that gets carved out over time. And the more water flows through that, the easier it becomes for water to flow through that, and the deeper it gets. So our thought neural pathways are about the same. So if you're constantly thinking a negative thought, it's going to become easier over time to think negative thoughts. Even if you're just hearing them, even if you're around people who are negative all the time and hearing it, it's still affecting your neural pathways. And you need to interrupt it. You need to stop it and introduce new stimuli. So we have the emotional aromatherapy line that has something for everything. The motivate, cheer, passion, forgive, which would be a really good one for that emotional release. Console, really great for people who are grieving, and peace is so good for those anxious feelings. So you get to rewrite your emotional script, and you get to retrain your brain and protect yourself as much as you can against those outside voices that are so negative too. And they're now available in the pre-diluted touch roller bottles. Let me just show you here. So like the Motivate, and I got these at convention. They'll be available for sale on October 3rd. And it's so great with little ones because I let them pick what they need for the day. And they kind of just pick based on the aroma, but their intuition is really good for what they need. So cheer, passion, motivate, those are all on the end of the spectrum of like bringing you up and getting you going. The forgive and the console. My daughter chose console the other day because she was just kind of having a hard time being away from me while I was gone, and then didn't want to go into the childcare at our church. So she chose console for herself, and I think it's really cute when they do that. And they're diluted enough. I just supervise them while I put them on their feet, and then they feel empowered and in charge of something, even if they don't really understand what it's doing. So we've been using this wheel for about a year, and it shows you all of the oils. It's probably hard to see on there, but it shows you a lot of the different oils that are available, the single oils, and the chemical component in this area, and the other chemical component. It's an alcohol, ester, monoterpene. Those monoterpenes and sesquiterpenes affect the brain really powerfully. And then kind of the overarching property. If it's uplifting, oopsie, my battery, I need to plug in here. Hang on just a second. There we go. Plug it back in. So that is really help wheel. But now if you have the Daily Drop app on your phone, you can go to that. I can just show you really quickly. The Daily Drop app, and you can go and it looks like this. And then it'll open up and you could see the different videos for like the athlete's kit. And then you click on these little lines and then determine your mood. And it gives you all the variables that you can, like if you're feeling apathetic or discouraged or gloomy. And it kind of gives you, so you put in a bunch of variables. Let's see, I'm feeling very tense and a little bit bitter. I'm just making up. I'm not really bitter today. Grieving, hurt, worried, anxious, insecure, and then show results, and it'll tell you which oil blends to use. So it's really neat and really kind of fun to go in and every day get like a little custom blend for yourself that you, the oils that'll help meet your needs. Here's another suggestion for application. So when you do get that oil, all of the emotional aromatherapy oils are all recommended for diffusion and to be applied to the bottoms of the feet because the skin is not sensitive on the bottoms of your feet and it'll affect your brain. I recommend the tip of the big toe as that's the reflex point for your pituitary gland. Another thing that sounded crazy to me at first, but totally works. A lot of them you could apply to the back of your neck. And so your temples, you just don't want to get them too close to your eye, over your heart. So those are some neat suggestions. And then these are the emotional aromatherapy ones. Again, all great for diffusing or putting on the bottom of the feet. So if you're not really sure, just apply to the bottoms of your feet, near your big toe. Or these points on your hand are also really good that are reflex points for the brain. So you could massage. This is another little thing for the that little app that we have. So get into the habit of using them. So this is what I was talking about in that introduction, that just because we have this knowledge and because we have the oils in our home does not mean that they're going to work for us, because we have to get into the habit of actually using them. So in the morning, you could put them on a diffuser pendant or keep them in your bathroom to like put in your unscented lotion. The doTERRA one they just updated with super good, like really great clean ingredients. that it's completely unscented. So I just keep some of those oils in my bathroom and then use the unscented lotion and a few drops, and then I become like a human diffuser, and people always give me long hugs because they like it. If you don't want long hugs, you should probably just be stinky. As you bathe, you can add them to the steam in the shower or something like that. So find what works for you and just get in the habit of doing it. Roller balls are really helpful for me. Throughout the day, you can be diffusing in your office, and in the evening, you're going to want to do some relaxing things. So there's a bunch of different blends that we've done over the years. Peace is so calming. I use peace all through the day though, because I'm typically an anxious person. I have little kids and I'm always thinking like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And then I think about it, which is a total waste of your imagination. You shouldn't do that. So I need a lot of peace. What else do we use? Cedar wood and bergamot together, great in the diffuser, that just help calm everyone down. There's so many different things. And so another thing about mood management would be getting the proper nutrition. I kind of talked about that and staying hydrated, but our supplements are going to be foundational to our nutrition because our food supply is so inadequate right now, with just, farmers don't grow things the way they used to, and their food isn't nutritionally dense like it used to be. So we really do need to supplement. And the whole food supplements that your body can actually use are going to be well worth your investment. Plus, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you've never tried them before, go ahead and try them through a loyalty rewards order. And if you get to the end of the month and you've used all of them and you don't feel different, send your empty bottles back to doTERRA and they'll send you your money back. So I think that's kind of awesome, because nobody really does that. We all become addicted to the supplements because they make us feel so much better. So to carry over from mood into more sleep, Dr. Russell Foster was one of the people who spoke to us at convention. You can go online and listen to his TED Talk called Why Do We Sleep? Russell Foster. You'll have to look it up because it's really interesting. And he did talk about the connection between mental health and sleep. And he talked about how those stimulant sedative cycles do not replace sleep. So if we're stimulating this cycle, so we're designed in these 24-hour cycles, and we need to spend 8 of the hours, most people, resting. And we aren't doing that, and it's becoming this epidemic. So a lot of our health issues are caused by lack of sleep, to be honest. And so another expert said, we need to convince the public that good sleep is as necessary as exercise and nutrition for optimal health. So I am all for that. I love sleep and I hate missing out on sleep. So it really is important and we need to make it a priority. But again, I would look up his talk and listen to it because my slides aren't the best from it. I took these screenshots from his presentation and I was kind of at an angle. So anyways, one of the things that he talked about is how these mental illness and sleep disruption share these overlapping pathways in the brain. And so prolonged sleep disruption can lead to severe mental illness. And these are all the chemicals that become problems in that cycle and why they look the same. And so if you're in that period of time when you're not getting sleep, you need to do everything else in favor of your body, in favor of taking care of yourself if you're not able to get the adequate sleep. So try not to replace sleep with the sedative stimulant cycle. To get good sleep, and this can work with your children as well, like when you're trying to get your people settled down for the night, because that's going to affect your sleep as well. You want to minimize light exposure before bedtime. So looking at the iPad, watching one more cartoon before bed is not a good plan. You want to keep your meals regular and not too close to bedtime because digestion is going to keep your body awake. Avoid those caffeinated drinks. Yeah, certainly don't give any to your kids. Avoid the sedatives to induce sleep because that's not real sleep. And you want to get exercise during the day at some point, but not within those few hours before bed, and avoid stressful situations before sleep. So it's not a good time, he joked about, it's not a good time to sit down and look at the family budget right before you go to bed. And avoid napping. So if you take this 3-hour nap in the afternoon and then you are up till midnight, and then the next morning, it'll throw your whole cycle off. So we're designed in those circadian rhythms. So looking at light and all those things are going to interrupt that natural rhythm that our body is designed for. So what we want to do is support that as best we can. So dimming those lights and maybe just reading black and white text from a book, not from your backlit phone, or if your Kindle or something is backlit, it's not going to be great for your brain. So here is what we can do to support sleep. That is not the same as a sedative, because it's working on the same level as your body. So it's not like forcing your body to do something it's not doing. It's just supporting a natural function in your body. So Nicole Stevens is a researcher who works for doTERRA. And she did the first internal IRB-approved, randomized, placebo-controlled, double-blind, crossover design clinical trial with doTERRA, through doTERRA. So the results are going to be published in a medical journal, and it was all of their work. So she showed pictures of like the stacks of paperwork they had, and they got people to participate in this trial. They couldn't be on any other medications. They didn't know. The double-blind aspect is the people didn't know, and the researchers didn't know which groups would be given which things. It was just controlled. And then they went back and reviewed the data, and they kept getting this data in. They realized that it worked. So they made this sleep supplement, and here are some of the ingredients in it. And just looking at those pictures makes me want to lie down in a field and take a little snooze. So if you haven't, well, I guess you haven't tried those yet because they come out on the 3rd. We've tried them, and it does promote a really good sleep. And you don't have that yucky feeling when you wake up in the morning, like you took something and had a deep sleep. I'm a sensitive person, so even back before we had oils, I couldn't take a Benadryl without like passing out, knock me out for a while. And then I would wake up the next morning and feel so yucky, like still not awake. I was still sleepy the whole next day. So again, that's kind of a good indication that those sedative things don't replace actual sleep. So more options for making a sleep blend for yourself. This is one I like that I've mixed up for people who are having trouble sleeping. Vetiver, bergamot, lavender, and frankincense. Those 4 together. I'll put about 10 to 15 drops of each. The vetiver is hard to get out because it's thick. But 10 to 15 drops of each, and then top it off with fractionated coconut oil in about a 10 ml bottle, and then shake it up. Other ones like the wood oils, like vetiver, frankincense, sandalwood, those are all grounding, like wood oil. You think of wood grounding. Vetiver is actually a root, but same principle. It's going to give you that really calm feeling. Lavender chamomile, which will be available December 1st. It's being distilled now, so it'll be available December 1st. And ylang ylang, that's a floral oil. And then the citrus oils that are nice and calming are bergamot and citrus bliss. So that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg on some of the options we have to support these things, our moods and emotions and sleep. Sleep is a really good place to start. If you're feeling overwhelmed, sleep is an excellent place to start. So if you're having trouble sorting out the emotions, you're not going to be able to do it until you allow yourself to rest a little bit. So we could go on for hours about all of the different options and give different things a try, be open to try new things, and give it a little bit of time to work for you. If you aren't already a wholesale member, you can try a kit which is a common thing. Common options are included in those based on popularity. You could also just do the $35 wholesale membership. The wholesale membership is included in the price of the kits. And I could attach the link for those as well. But you could also, if you just wanted oils specifically for like the mood management kit, you would pay the $35 fee, which is like Costco, and then you get 25% off for the year. And then order your kit that way, get 25% off of like the mood management kit or something like that. So that's a great thing to do. If you have a really long list of things you would like to try for this, you should look into the loyalty rewards program. This is how we order every month, and we have for years. So after, a few months of ordering consistently, 50 PV or over, you increase the percentage back that you earn up to 30%. So it really is the smartest way to buy. Plan things out in advance. If one month you do a $300 order and the next month you do like a $20 order or something like that, the next month you aren't increasing your percentage back. So maybe, save some things for your following month's order, so that you increase that percentage back and you can get to the 30% back, because you're getting 25% off and then more back on everything. You're going to save a ton of money. Last year, in 2015, doTERRA gave away $144 million worth of free products through loyalty rewards. So if you're not using that to your advantage, you're totally missing out. If you have questions about that, I'm kind of a master at strategizing this. So give me a call and I'll help you figure that out so that you can work it to your advantage. And finally, you can personalize your supplementation. So I talked about the lifelong vitality a little bit, but you can also add on Deep Blue, which is for the your aches and pains. It's the polyphenol complex. My husband trained for the Nashville Half Marathon and didn't have like a sore day because he took this the whole time. And also kids supplementation, the Terrazyme, which is a food enzyme. So if your digestion is keeping you awake at night, maybe you could take a Terrazyme and it's going to help support breaking down, getting the nutrients out of your food and digesting them. PB Assist, which also balances your gut. That's something we didn't even get a chance to talk about, the connection between your gut and your brain. There's tons of new research on that. So you definitely want to be taking a good probiotic like PB Assist that's microencapsulated, that makes it all the way to your digestive tract where you need it. And then the Mito 2 Max is another thing that helps give us natural energy. It doesn't work like a stimulant that's forcing our bodies to do something. It's just helping your body's natural function. So I've definitely gone over on time. I wanted to keep it to a half an hour, but I feel like we're just kind of barely scratching the surface on this. So if you have any questions about anything I talked about, or I didn't talk about something that you have a concern for, go ahead and give me a call and I'll be happy to answer your questions. My phone number is 740-602-2659, or you could find me on Facebook, Essential Oils Daily, or Instagram, Essential Oils Daily. I hope you guys have a great day and have all of the tools that you need and you actually open them up and use them.